It's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First, we got to establish a quorum. Jimmy Anderson. Absent. Laura Cordell.
Here.
Glenn Garrett. Absent. Stuart Huffman.
Here.
Mike Kelly. Present. Terry Perry.
Present.
Toby Swagger.
Here.
We've established a quorum, so now we'll go over the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting on January 28th, 2025.
I'll move to approve.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, approval of the minutes is in. We don't have any comments from the citizens? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to the reports from the staff. Superintendent of Parks, Jack Presley.
Yes, so been busy a little bit due to the flood out there at the park. Of course, we had a lot to clean up, partnership with Public Works on getting a lot of the debris, all the debris hauled off, and then a couple weeks later we was hit with a flood again. So at least it didn't leave the debris, but a lot on the trail. So, you know, with that cleanup, we had, of course, scraping the trail, brushing the trail to get it usable for the patrons and stuff. You know, at Brooks Park and North Creek, we actually removed some of the baskets that were over there just because of the floodwaters coming in. Didn't want any damage to them. So hopefully this week we'll be putting those back out, putting the signs up, and removing debris that's in that spot. Some of the other things we've been doing around the city, out here at City Hall, we put a new memorial bench in for Sissy Thomas, and a tree that's out there by the gazebo. We've been at Delma Sloan, been converting lights over to from fluorescent to LED. Sorry about that. So we started adding EWF, engineered wood fiber, to our playgrounds. So at Moss Wright Park, the 5 and 12-year-old playground took 25 yards of mulch. The 2 to 5-year-old playground took 10 yards. P Park was a 10 yards of EWF, and then Pleasant Green was 20 yards. So we went through 100 yards of EWF pretty quick, just refurbishing the playgrounds. We added 44 tons of brick dust to the athletic fields before the season to get started. Of course, we cleaned up trees that fell due to the storms. Josh marked off the soccer fields using the tiny robot, and also put little fields on the football fields for the little kids to kind of take the wear and tear off of the soccer complex. We have installed an AED cabinet down by the football restrooms and concessions for that. We've also installed one up here at the pickleball court. So now there's AED cabinet with the machines in there. The installation of the scoreboards were complete. Seemed to be running fine except for one hiccup last night. But other than that, it was an easy fix. Starting to get beds ready to be planted for mulch and everything else at the park. We kind of changed the front entrance this year. Did away with a lot of the old shrubbery and did a lot of grass. So we confined it down to where we'll still have flowers, but it's not going to be as big or bulky. So it's going to be green and hopefully colors and everything else. And we did set another memorial bench for Tammy Reddy up at the quad. And we hosted the preseason 6U and 8U baseball tournament. Of course, baseball and softball started playing games last night. So this is the first that softball and baseball started basically at the same time. So Any questions?
Thank you for all your hard work. No, it's a lot to put on you. You fully staffed now?
Yes. Even have some part-time help.
I'll fill in for Jennifer.
Okay. Okay.
One thing you'll notice on the reports, Jack's report and Jennifer's report, starting on page 6, if you'll remember last meeting, we talked about having a new software called Civic Optimize. So we've created these forms specifically for their superintendent reports to kind of give you a more detailed description of everything that's going on. A lot of times we give you a high level, just kind of overview. So this is a way for us to communicate to you in more detail some things that we're doing, and to keep you up to date with some things going on. So you'll see that change there. So Jennifer is not here tonight, so I'll fill in for her report. You'll see on page 8 where hers starts, we've got some events listed, some past events and some upcoming events. In February, we had quite a few attendees at our annual events. For the year, we had a week full of events, from the Winter Wonderland Dance to the Daddy, Daughter, Mother, Son, and the VIP dinner, all of which were extremely successful. Our spring concert for senior adults actually happened today. We had about 88 participants attend that event today. And it was a good event, and we will have one again in May. Some other upcoming events are going to be the Spring Spectacular Egg Hunt, which will be at Mossright Park, and the Good Dog Doggy Egg Hunt, which has become a very popular doggy event at Mossright Park. Those will be happening in April, along with the Revive and Root event. Revive and Root is an event that is hosted by our department in conjunction with the Tree Advisory Board. The Tree Advisory Board and the department work together to celebrate Arbor Day in Goodlettsville. That is a requirement of our Tree City status, so that's something that we get together and do every year. This will be the second annual Revive and Root event, and we have some great talks planned, some great kids activities planned, and it should be a good time. Just for your knowledge, some upcoming tournaments that are going to be going on. The Spring Smash Sand Volleyball Tournament, that's a mouthful, will be on April 5th. And then our upcoming soccer tournament, so MTFC Quest will host their spring tournament starting on April 5th. And then Tennessee United, which is the one that we typically see around 300 teams, I would say at least, and that's across us and Drakes Creek Park and other areas of Sumner County. That'll start on the 25th of April. Any questions?
Hearing none, we'll move right along to the unfinished business, the LPRF Rachel's Garden.
If you've not been back behind the community center and driven through P Park lately, I encourage you to do so. There's a lot going on back there. We have started the install of the playground equipment. They should start pouring some concrete actually this week or early next week. All the playground equipment's kind of spread out, and they've inventoried everything, and in the next couple of weeks you will see Rachel's Garden fully come to life. Some things that will happen after that will be a concrete curb will have to be installed after the playground's installed, so they can adhere the turf, which is going to be the playground surfacing to that. There'll be some parking lot improvements that will happen after the playground's installed, and then an additional sidewalk that will be added. So we're still a couple months out, but we're inching closer to having a fully complete Rachel's Garden playground. Something that has been a long process is going to be a great reward for our community in the very near future. As soon as we have a better timeline, we should know in the next week or two how fast things are going to go, then we should be able to share an anticipated ribbon cutting ceremony. We want to have a big celebration to celebrate this big accomplishment for our city, and thanks to our fire department for that as well.
I just want to add, went up there before the meeting and talked to them, so they've got the biggest footer ready to pour for the big shade structure, then 4 other smaller shade structures. Just the 1 footer for the shade structure, 7 yards of concrete. and the other 4 is a total of 7 yards. So, I mean, if anybody knows that's a lot of concrete. So, and they said once that gets done, then, you know, it's going to start going quickly because it's poking holes in the ground and pouring the concrete from there, so.
The big mound of dirt behind the playground is moving too. That was just an added fee when we were trying to reduce some of our costs. It was an added fee to have the contractor take it off. So we said as a city, we can handle hauling that off. So Public Works will probably start moving that dirt in the future. We're going to use some of it to create a berm and some other little things around the park to help with the water runoff that we get from the neighborhood. So the mountain is not staying.
Moving on to the disc golf course.
Jack touched on it a little bit. We have the signs for the course in hand, and so they'll start getting those out this week, hopefully, and adding the baskets back, and then doing a little bit of clearing back there. The flood at Moss Wright Park kind of threw us for a loop. There was a lot of debris removal with the first one. It was probably the worst shape we've ever seen the park in as far as debris that came up from the flood. And so that kind of threw us for a loop a little bit, and we haven't been able to give as much attention to North Creek Park, which also did see some rise in the flood water. So that will be addressed in the next couple weeks, and hopefully we will have a grand opening day for the disc golf course. It is being used, though. People are out there using it. That they don't have signs, so they might just be throwing into no man's land, but soon they will have signs, and it will be a fully complete course.
With the debris on soccer, it was about 10 dump truck loads, tandem dump truck loads of stuff that Public Works hauled off. So, yeah, it was a lot.
Do we host any kind of cleanup day for that?
We did not host a cleanup day for that just because of how significant the amount of debris was. It wasn't anything that we could have people out there picking up sticks. It was trees, huge logs. We've never seen anything like that in the park. Jack can attest to that in all of his years here. He's never seen.
No, so some of the spots was just as high as this, as far as debris being left down there. So it was more than I've ever seen.
All right, moving along to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
In front of you, you have the official adopted and printed Parks Master Plan. That's going to be the spiral notebook that you see. This is also listed on our website for those that are listening at home. So this can be viewed on our website. This took the information from our previous Parks Master Plan and then married it into all the information that was collected within this current Parks and Recreation Master Plan. It was adopted on February 13th by the City Commission. And so this is the final plan. To give some highlights about this plan and just kind of explain how we utilize this plan as a department. Anytime we look at requesting capital funds, we always go back to the master plan to make sure that whatever we're planning is aligned with what our community wants to see. So a lot of the things that you'll see listed in here, the recirculation of Moss Wright Park was one of those, and the connectivity of trails was one of those. We hope to address those in coming years through grants and other things. We had a great, like we mentioned before, we had a great deal of people, or a great number of people that complete our survey. I believe it was around 1,200 people that complete the survey, and so that gives us a pretty good snapshot of what our small community would love to see us do as a Parks and Recreation in the future. They took all of that information and they compiled it into some facility recommendations. They did an inventory of our current parks. We were able to, on the tail end of the plan before it was approved, or before it was printed and went to the commission for adoption, we added in those 2 future parkland areas that were dedicated into our Parks and Recreation system, and they made just some small recommendations for those. The recommendations that you'll see are short-term and long-term recommendations, and then they have an implementation matrix for existing facilities. So how do we start implementing this? What's a high priority? What's a low priority? And is there funding sources out there for these kinds of projects? And what should we even anticipate costs be for those projects? Do y'all have any questions as it pertains to the master plan?
Looks like a well-put-together plan.
We're very pleased with the communication and the work that Kimley Horn did. We feel like they listened to you all, they listened to commissioners, they listened to our community, and I feel like they honed in on a lot of things that were mentioned, and they've created a good path forward for our department. We also this year did a 10-year capital spending plan that we submitted to the city manager. And so in that 10-year capital spending plan, there's a lot of things highlighted in this plan. A small example of that would be ADA sidewalks. That's something that, as we have older facilities, ADA compliance isn't something that is widespread in our park system. And so how can we address those on a 10-year basis and kind of chip away at them? So this year we've requested some funds for sidewalks to connect the parking lot to the, at Shelter 3, the parking lot to the playground to have some more accessibility to our playground, and also adding an accessible sidewalk at the dog park. So just small things like that. We tried to lay out what areas we need to address in that 10 years based off of what the needs are.
Anything else?
These
We'll
are
move
your
on.
copies to keep too, so
All right. And you can get them online?
yeah, they are available on our website as well.
Perfect, thank you. Moving on to new business, we will be looking at the LPRF grant application for Moss Wright Park Trail Improvements and Traffic Enhancement approval.
And I believe that is page 13 of your packet is where that will start. This presentation was the presentation that was submitted, or that was able to be viewed yesterday and commented on yesterday at our public meeting. We had around 25 people participate in that meeting, so we did get some good feedback from citizens. We were able to help clear up some questions and comments that people had. But essentially, our grant application here is to address the traffic flow at Moss Wright Park and also address the walkability at Moss Wright Park. Within our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, they identified a overarching plan for traffic and walkability at Moss Wright Park. And so we took that large-scale plan and cut it in half. So the large-scale plan, where it's probably a $5.5 million project, maybe $6.5 million project, depending on when we get to these phases, we cut that in half for this grant application. And so we're asking for, we've submitted this to the commission, and the commission has approved our application for this project. So this will be something that we're asking you all tonight to look at and ask questions on, and eventually approve if you choose to do so. And I can go over kind of what phase one, since we did split this in half, phase one. So if you look at page 66 on your master plan, that's going to be the overall plan, the overall improvement plan. Page 66 and 67. 66 showing all the drives and the traffic flow, and 67 showing the walking trail. So what we did is cut that, like I said, cut that in half. So I'm not sure if I'm losing page numbers, but as you flip through, you'll see, it should be the last page, that you'll see a couple maps right before your sponsorship opportunities page in your packet. There's another map. This shows the phase that we are going to address right here. So our goal is to recirculate the traffic within the highlighted areas. We're using existing pavement in these areas. So think of the entrance of Mosswright Park. If you pull into the main entrance and turn right, parallel parking along the road, those parallel parking spots are going to come out, and it's going to become a two-way traffic. Other areas, it will become two-way traffic if you go to the second entrance and turn left into the dog park. That will become two-way traffic there. We'll pull the parallel parking off the road from the dog park all the way down to the soccer complex. Ahead of this plan, we have asked for capital spending for this coming budget year to put a parking lot at the dog park to address those parking spots coming out, because there will be nowhere for them to park once those parking spots come out. So that is reflected in our capital spending budget this year, and it is our intent to complete that project well ahead of this portion of the master plan implementation for the traffic flow. When we pull all of those parallel spots off of the drive and we add two-way traffic, we felt that it was very important to also address the walkability within the park, especially going from the main or the top entrance, where behind the dog park, the walking trail just ends right there. So we felt like it was important to address that area all the way to the trailhead behind Field 1. So if you're looking at the map within the grant application packet, you'll see that blue line. That blue line is to address or to add a walking trail there. Other things you'll notice about this plan, there's a big donut in the back corner, kind of between football and the quad parking. That's going to be a roundabout that will allow traffic to flow more. It will allow it to flow a lot better throughout that area. In front of that, we will have to reconfigure that back quad parking lot to realign it with that, and also repave that. That is the worst pavement that we have within the park. So repaving that will be part of this as well. We wanted this plan to address walkability, address the traffic flow needs, but also have minimal impact on our green space. And so this kind of is the path of least resistance for that. We're utilizing pavement that we already have. Adding a walking trail is a lot smaller of an impact than adding a whole nother road. So these things are the main things that we thought were important to address within this first phase.
Do you ever think you might even see another, I know we've got the two entrances in there. Mm-hmm. Would there ever be able to be, was there talk of having one down the road, another entrance?
If you look at page 66 in the master plan,
okay.
There is, on the soccer side, you'll see a red arrow that goes
Yes.
goes out and then up. So that they're showing that as an exit. I would say 80% of our soccer participants are Hendersonville residents, and that area gets heavily congested when people are trying to get in and out of the park. And so the thought process was to add a third exit, not an entrance, but an exit.
Right.
And that exit would be specifically turning right. So they would, if you wanted to go back to Hendersonville, you could go out that way. If you wanted to go, if you're going back into Goodlettsville, you could go throughout
Yep.
the park.
Great.
But that is addressed in phase 2.
Right. When I was looking at the one, I thought, well, maybe there's one coming in today.
And we said it would be a right turn only because there's already a gate there. There's just very low visibility looking back. So it would be extremely dangerous if we let people go left and right. But that right turn would be a lot safer.
Oh, yeah. And any extra exiting out of there is going to be better, so.
What this also does, this first phase will allow us to create an event space as well. So if you look at the bottom of if you're looking at we call it the bottom road. So Field 2 and football are here. You're going past the maintenance shop and the shelters 1 and 2. the two roads where there's the split. Essentially, what we'll be able to do with this plan is we will be able to close both of those roads and have an event happen within that space right there, and traffic can still continuously flow throughout each side of the park. That will put pull some stress off of our police department. We do call on our police department a lot for our large scale events, so that will hopefully reduce the amount of police that we will need to help with egress and traffic flow.
Do we have an emergency for inclement weather, emergency plan to get people out of the park and rush in case we have a tornado during the soccer tournament or baseball season?
Not currently within this plan. That's something that we as a department would need to look at, though. Fortunately, I think adding this two-way traffic on the road will allow traffic to go in and out of the park a lot smoother.
I believe so too.
I do too. I think it looks, I'm no engineer and I don't know anything about it, but I'm sure they've looked and studied
Yeah.
and come up with the best plan, you know. I think it looks great. I couldn't imagine till you get it done and then you see, you know, whatever. But do we need to approve this tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing too to note is this is just our preliminary plan. We've gotten our numbers and what the cost is based on these things. There will be a more detailed environmental study and other things that will occur ahead of us going into construction. One thing too to note, so we're applying for this grant. It's due next week, I believe, is when the grant application is due. And this is the same grant that has funded Rachel's Garden. It's the same grant that funded the splash pad and some other things that we've done within our park system. So we will not find out if we receive the grant application until probably November. So as far as timeline goes, if for say we were awarded the grant in November, we would have contracting and environmental review and all of those things happening ahead of us getting started. So that could take some time. We're anticipating to have environmental review and state contracting done by February of 26. And then from there, we'll do project design. We'll have to put it out for bid and then award somebody for a bid. So that could push us back into November of 26.
Yeah.
And we're also going to have to be really strategic on timing of this too,
Yes.
because we
Oh,
want to
yeah.
have the least impact to our athletic leagues as possible.
Oh, yeah.
So our goal is to start construction in May of 27 and close this project out in August. And that is a lofty goal. I understand that. But our goal, again, is to have the least amount of impact to those youth sports leagues.
So you're saying that we have time to make any changes?
Yeah. The scope of the project won't change, but the things that is the trail going to be on the left side or the right side? Those things will be fine tuned as we go through this. So again, if you know, we're drumming up a lot of excitement about this, but hurry up and wait. So we're asking you all to approve it tonight, but I do want to be clear that this is, yes, if we do get this, it's not going to happen overnight. But this is also something that we feel as a department that if we ever want to do any other development at Moss Wright Park, any additions of fields for baseball, soccer, we've got to address the traffic flow first. We're at capacity as it is, and so addressing this will help us address other needs in the future.
Well, I'm going to move that we approve the grant application for the Moss Wright Park Trail improvements for traffic enhancement.
Yeah, I'll second.
Got a motion to approve?
Stewart,
We've had a second?
Stewart.
Everybody say aye.
Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everybody approves?
Thank you all.
Moving on to sponsorship menu.
On page 39 of your packet, you will see our 2025 sponsorship opportunities. We get asked often if there's a way that businesses can sponsor things that we have. And in the past, we've been kind of all over the place. So we'll say, yeah, you could do this here, or this here. We didn't really have a strategy or a plan for how we move the needle to help people get sponsorships. But also, as a department, if we've got two different people working on two different projects, we're not going to the same person asking them for funding. So we created the sponsorship opportunities menu, and this is just a way for us to communicate with the business community and other people that are interested in sponsoring events. This is just a way for us to communicate what we currently have, and then what our needs are, and then for their sponsorship, what they would get. So this is something that is listed on our website, and this is something that we're tracking more internally, so we can give you a good picture at the end of the year to say, you know, we did this many events, this was our budget, but we doubled our budget because we had so many sponsors, and this is what it looked like. So there's no action item or anything. This is just something that we wanted to put before you all, and just make sure that you were aware of. And then if you ever have anyone ask you about a sponsorship opportunity, we would love for you to share this information.
Sarah, is sponsoring holes at the disc golf course going to be part of this eventually?
Eventually, yes. The goal is to have that as part of it. We started specifically with events right now, and then we want to move into other things to include in that.
Nothing else on that. We'll move on to the AED accessibility in the parks.
Jack touched on it in his report, and I just want to reiterate, as a department, we have for years had AEDs that were within reach at our facilities. We have 8 total across all of our parks, but oftentimes there could be a time in which somebody wasn't at the park and it wasn't accessible. So soccer, for instance, the AED is located in the concession stand at soccer. And so if somebody from the park's not there or somebody from the league's not there, it's inside the concession stand and it's not accessible. So what we did was we have purchased 2 exterior AED cabinets, and we have included in them an AED and an air tag within that AED so we can track it. It is weatherproof, and it will keep the AED safe, and it will alarm when somebody opens it. It does not contact 911, but it does alarm when somebody opens it. And so we're trying, we've identified 2 areas, one within Mossright Park and one within P Park, to test out these 2 devices, having them exterior facing as a pilot program. And if it's successful, then we're going to look at moving some others out. So we identified football as one area. That's kind of a central location of Mossright Park, and it's also an area where you might not be close to the AED that's located at soccer. You might not be close to the AED that's located at baseball or the maintenance shop. So it's kind of, or the visitor center. So it's a central location. And then we have added one at P Park, and that is up beside the pickleball courts. And it is visible from the splash pad. You can see it clearly from the splash pad too. So those are the 2 devices that we have out currently, and we're going to see how it goes for the next couple of months. Those are expensive devices. They're $3,000, or it was $3,000 for 2 of them. So they're not cheap devices, but we as a department feel like we need to be more outward facing with those and have them more readily accessible to our public. So this is kind of our step in that direction to see if it's something that we can make work in other areas.
All right, anything else? Do we have any comments from the board members and staff?
I just wanted to say the sheer amount of work you guys did after the floods. I mean, I'm used to that kind of stuff. It's very impressive that you were able to get all that done and move all that, so kudos to you.
So very proud of our staff. They work hard and do a great job, and I know this is probably the busiest time
Time of the
ever.
year.
So appreciate it. Very much.
As always.
Is all.
Overworked and underappreciated sometimes, but we love you for it. I do have one thing. This weekend, starting at 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 29th, baseball opening ceremonies. So we'd love for you to be there if you can. Come out, see the fun that the kids are having, watch the little kids play ball. It is absolutely hilarious, memory-making, a great time. We have some different things going to go on, and I'm going to get it to Sarah probably tomorrow, and then she can pass it out to y'all. So that'll be Saturday, this Saturday. And the opening ceremonies usually start at 11. So we'll have some home run hitting contests by the kids that, all the kids gather around and get to watch the bigger kids hit the ball over the fence. And we also have the little kids where we measure off how far they hit the ball to win. So it's a good time. Just be prepared. The park will be crowded. A lot of events going on. So that's all I have. Anybody else? Just get a motion to adjourn then.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn has been made.
Second.
Second. Declare the meeting adjourned. Have a blessed night.
Now that the meeting is over, can I share something that has absolutely nothing to do with this?